Let's welcome back the author, Sarah Pye, and the hero of her book, Dr. Wong, now, so that we can ask them some more of your questions this afternoon as we launch Saving Sun Bears. Welcome back to both of you.
Thank you, Annie.
Thank you, Annie.
How do you feel about that, Sarah, that news? And Wong?
That's awesome news. Like that one.
Wow, wonderful, wonderful.
That's a really great development. I wanted to put some of the questions to you both that have been coming in this afternoon. And Chris has got a couple of questions for you, Wong. He says, what is the diet of the sun bear? What do they eat?
Well, in the wild, they eat, well, they are bears, you know, they are omnivores. They eat everything that they can find in the forest. So when they can find fruits in the forest, they will eat all different kind of fruits, more than 100 species of fruits that we know of that the sun bear feed on. And then when fruits is not available, then they feed on a wide variety of invertebrates, from termites, ants, beetles, beetle larvae, earthworms, honey, and then you name it, anything that moves is sun bear's diet. They also eat meat, but they are not a good predators. So if they can come across a slow-moving meat like a small tortoises, you know, or big tortoises in the forest, they will go and chew on it. They are not a good hunter. That's what I can say. So they are very, very diverse. And then lately we know that bears live close to the coastal or mangrove area. They feed on snail, possibly crab as well, and anything that they can find. So it's a very, very amazing animals that can have this kind of wide adaptation. So for any species that have this kind of dietary preference, they should be the one can make it to our world for a long, long time. But unfortunately, you know, what have we done to our forests, and that all would reduce the numbers of the bears. Yeah.
Are there different species of sun bear? Chris wants to know.
Oh, there are sun bears is one genus, one species, but two subspecies. So the sun bear found in Asia mainland and Sumatra is called Helarctos malayanus. So they are the Malayan sun bear, which is much bigger, which is double the size of what we have here in Borneo. The Bornean sun bear is Helarctos malayanus eurispilus. So one species, but two subspecies.
Okay. Sarah, did you get to see, sun bears eating in the wild? Like, how far into the journey were you able to go into the forest to track some of the sun bears that you released? What's been your experience of the bears in the wild?
No, I haven't actually experienced bears in the wild, except for that one experience of actually releasing them in the wild. As Wong will attest to, they're very, very elusive creatures. So it actually took him in years and years of trying to trap bears. He was only able to trap 6 bears in the wild. So they're very, very hard to find in the wild. And that's what makes the Bornean Sun Bear Conservation Centre such an amazing place. It includes an enclosure, which is part of the national park. So the bears that are saved from are in captivity, but they're not really in a captive situation. They're in a natural rainforest environment, and you can see them doing all the things that they normally would do in the wild, only in an area that humans can actually experience as well.
Dale's written an interesting question here. He says, Wong, was it scary entrusting your story to Sarah?
I won't listen, Wong.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, Sarah and I spend so much time Skyping every week for years, for at least 2 years, I think.
It felt like years, did it?
Yeah, it has become my weekly routine. Okay, Wednesday at 3 o'clock, it's time to Skype Sarah. And then they would ask me what's happening over the weeks, and sometimes she have a list of questions to ask me. It's from my childhood, from the years before. I have to memorize. I have to dig out some old pictures, and then I think Sarah did a great job on interviewing the people of my family and try to get the story out. You know, when I first read the manuscript or the story for the very first time, I was still like, whoa, wait a minute. seems like Sarah was with me when I was little, and she was just like beside me and observing and take down all the notes of, how can she did it. I think she did a great job on doing that. And I also told that story to my family as well. I said, wow, when Sarah described my dad during my childhood, it seems like she was there. So it's quite a spooky experience. So good job.
It took a lot of talking to many different people. So I actually interviewed about 50 people for this book.
Gosh.
Many of them Wong's colleagues, Wong's friends, Wong's family. I had an amazing experience in Penang, going to a dinner with all Wong's siblings, and he's got plenty of them. So it was quite an impressive experience, which actually makes it into the book. Me having dinner with the whole family was a cultural enigma, really, which I loved.
And apparently, Sarah, Wong's a very good cook. What can you tell us?
Oh, I think we're lucky that Wong wasn't born in this era, because if he was, he wouldn't be into wildlife. He'd actually be the Gordon Ramsay or something of Asia. I think if there was such a thing as celebrity chefs, when Wong was a kid, he would have been a celebrity chef. So Wong, I'm going to embarrass you, Wong, because when I'm staying at Wong's house, he sets himself 1 hour to cook dinner. And what comes out of his kitchen in 1 hour is what would probably take me about a week to cook.
I've heard your dumplings are very good, Wong.
Okay. Yeah, actually, it was quite good. You can learn about how I make my dumpling from my YouTube channel. A little advertisement over here.
I want to know how you got the name Papa Bear. That's what people call you, Papa Bear. How did that come about?
Well, I think it was back to 2012 when I was working, or 2012, yeah, when I was working, when we have rescued Mary. And then Mary at the time was a tiny little small cubs, and then I worked in the forest. And then at the time, Jason Scott Lee, very well-known actor in Hollywood, and then he came to do a program for the National Geographic Travel. And then so that process of seeing me walking the bears and then take Mary back into the forest just like a father. Well, obviously I'm a male, and then so that process. Wong is just like a Papa Bear. And then later on, several reporters pick up the word using Papa Bear. And then last year, Read the Digest, wrote articles on me, and then it says me as a Papa Bear. So that name's kind of become getting more and more famous, and right now many people refer me as Papa Bear.
That's lovely. Does that make your wife Mama Bear as well?
Yeah, in theory it should be.
Well, don't forget that you've Wong named his daughter Winnie after a bear as well. So yes, it does work.
I was wondering. Sarah, people online are already commenting about how beautifully poignant your book is, and wondering,
thank you,
what's in the pipeline for you. They're keen to know what else you're going to write.
What am I going to do next? Well, this is a bit of an exclusive here, because on camera I'm going to ask Wong. I would very much like to take all the research that I conducted for this book, and this book is obviously focused towards adults, but I feel there's a real need to get children involved in some of these conservation messages. And Wong is also really aware of the entire ecology in Borneo, so I would very much like to take some of the stories about sun bears and other species in the rainforest and write a series of chapter books for children, together with Wong, if he's willing to do that with me.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Honor is my great honor. Yes. Actually, we have a lot of story to tell from this part of the world. And as you know, the rainforest is so important to the entire planet's ecosystem, especially right now when we face with all this global climatic change, severe weather patterns, and right now we're dealing with a pandemic. We need to change our attitude, and we need to respect nature more. And the first thing that we need to respect nature more is to know more about the nature, more about our wildlife, know about the rainforest. And Sarah, as a writer, this is what she did Yes, write about it. Let people read about it, and let people, start to have that kind of cares and knowledge and get excited, and hopefully they can experience them for themselves by visiting a rainforest, by seeing this wildlife with their own eyes, and they will know how spectacular, our world is, just like Sir David Attenborough has been advocating for his whole life. We have a wonderful planet, we have a wonderful nature, and we have to protect them. This is our last chance. We cannot afford to lose all of these species and so on and so forth. It will decimating our future as well, our futures generations, futures as well. So yeah, so yes, please write
Yes.
about it.
Yay, that's great. Yeah, I bet
And getting-
not many people know also that Wong has a stick insect named after him. So there's a story in its own right.
Really?
It's an honor.
That's great. Wong, by how much is the habitat of sun bears reducing each year? And what are their numbers like in the wild? What have you seen in terms of the decline of their population?
Yeah, so in different countries across Southeast Asia, different countries have different deforestation rate. So for Borneo, where I'm in right now, about half of the forest has already been deforested, already gone. And these are the oldest rainforests in the world. And once it is gone, it is gone. And then all of these forests are habitat for the sun bear. So just by looking at deforestation itself, although we do not have the real numbers or estimate numbers of how many bears are there, just by looking at the habitat loss, we know that sun bears are not doing well. And then right now we know how is their density. We don't have a number, so we do not know how many bears are there in the world. But last year, the West Malaysian Authority, the Department of National Parks and Wildlife and National Parks, have put out a number saying that there's only 300 to 500 sun bear left in West Malaysia, and that numbers is very worrying. 3 to 500, and given that right now we know that they have a very slow reproduction rate. One female can only produce 3 or 4 cubs in her whole lifetime. So every time when there's a bears being poached or being kept in as pets, it means a loss of harm to the entire population, and that worries me. So by all this anecdotal information, we have to be very, very cautious, and we have to, be very cautious and have to stop all of this, human caused mortality, and have to reduce or minimize or eliminate it all at once, because they already being decimated by habitat loss and human expansion.
Sarah, when you visited Borneo all those years ago, and in the subsequent visits that you've had, what's your impression of what the government is doing to save the habitat, to save the forest, and also how serious is the government over there about saving the sun bear and putting its money where its mouth is, I suppose, to stop people from poaching and trading in wildlife?
I guess Wong I'd ask you to add to this answer, but what I've learned is that the government is doing what most governments are doing. It has been stumbling along in the process over the past few years, but is gradually learning better how to care for the environment and the wildlife as well. So the Sun Bear Centre that Wong created and runs is on government land, and it's supported by the Sabah Wildlife Department and the Forestry Department. So they're doing quite a lot of work there. They're also putting conferences together to ask for help on anti-poaching processes and things like that. So I think things are improving quite drastically along the way, but there's still a long way to go. There's still poachers plying their trades in the forests in Borneo, and those things need to be addressed very, very quickly, as Wong was saying. Wong, would you like to add to that answer?
Yeah, I think the governments right now, especially Malaysia, realize the importance of biodiversity of all this wildlife. So we are definitely heading to a right direction, but we have to move fast because, as we speak, there are still like poachers, from Indochina regions, set snares and try to capture or last tigers in West Malaysia or sun bears here, blah blah blah. So that is still ongoing. So we have to be brave. We have to be brave and confronting all this illegal activity. If we not brave enough to confront all this illegal activity, then they'll be gone. I think for me, for everybody as well, I think the next 10 years will be very, very crucial. If we success, then they will live for a long, long time. If we fail, then they will be just like our Sumatran rhinoceros, which officially gone country extinct last year. So it's a very sad thing that we experience. But all in all, there are more and more people, with more and more government program, government supported programs, cares about environment, which is good, this is something that we have to do it. Otherwise, we won't have a bright future.
And Sarah, there's a question from Jennifer for you. She's saying, how did Judy Dench get to support your book? How did that come about?
Oh, I feel so proud of that. It's amazing. Well, in 2017, as I said, I helped Wong release 2 rescued bears back into the wild. The following year, Judy Dench had the same wonderful experience as I did, releasing rescued bears with Wong for the filming of a documentary series that she had called Judy Dench's Wild Borneo Adventures. I think it's still available online if you want to see her. Wong told me an interesting story about that, because Judy Dench didn't actually know she was going to release bears until it was being filmed on camera with him actually asking her, do you want to come and release some bears? So it's a real surprise on her face in the documentary. So once that happened and the book was coming along, Wong was kind enough to connect me with Judy Dench, who so kindly gave us the honor of endorsing the book. And I couldn't be prouder that she's been able to do that.
Well, that's a lovely connection